Hi, welcome to our show today. Listen, this is going to be action-packed because I got a number of different subjects I'm going to be talking about. Social Security, Roth IRAs, how much risk are you taking? Holistic planning and the value of. How about income planning? All of this we're going to be talking about, so stay tuned.
Retiring Well, brought to you by Centennial Wealth Advisory, financial advisors specializing in retirement planning and serving all of Northern Michigan. Retiring Well, helping you plan for a successful and comfortable retirement. Retiring Well, plan to retire well.
Hi, welcome to our show. Listen, in this segment, I want to talk to you about Social Security. Now, if you did not know, most of us have to wait till full retirement age to get the full benefit, as they call it. And that depends on when you were born. That could be age 65, could be age 67, or anything in between. But if you didn't know, you can take Social Security actually early at age 62. Now, they're going to discount your benefit, typically 75% of what it would have been at full retirement age. Now, once you get to full retirement age, you can also wait to take Social Security. You can wait to age 70. And there's good reasons to do that, because each year you wait, they'll grow it by 8% plus whatever the CPI was. If you do the math, the difference between taking it at age 62 and taking it at age 70 is almost double. So if you don't have pension income or very little pension income, Social Security could be your greatest guaranteed account, and maximizing it is going to be very important. Now, and there's some cases where you can't do that and you have to take it early. That's fine, but that's all the more reason why you want to have a good income plan to make sure how it fits in with the overall picture. Now, there's some other good reasons why you might want to wait to take Social Security. What if you're that person that's stopped working, all right, and you've got a lot of money in your IRA accounts? Well, you're going to have a lot of room in that lower bracket, especially if you wait to take Social Security. That would be a great time to do some good tax planning and aggressively take money out of those IRAs, because guess what? You're buying out Uncle Sam in the low tax bracket. Now, we've been given a huge gift with the Tax Reform Act, that because where we were in the low bracket, maybe 15%, it's now 12%. Or if we were in the 25% bracket, it's now the 22% bracket. Now, what a lot of people don't realize is that sunsets now in another 6-7 years, meaning it goes back to the old rates. So we have a huge opportunity in the next 6-7 years. If we're always going to be in that low bracket, for example, why wouldn't we be utilizing that bracket as much as we can to buy Uncle Sam out at 12 cents on the dollar versus 15 down the road? Now, another thing you have to consider when you're looking at Social Security is if you're married, the surviving spouse gets to keep, whoever dies first, and I could pick on he or she, but whoever dies first, that surviving spouse gets to keep the greater of the two Social Securities. So sometimes in our planning, it might make great sense to have maybe one take it a little early, but let the other one, maybe the one that has the greater benefit, wait to age 70, because that's going to become the survivor benefit. So all the more reason why you want to take a look at this, you want to do an income plan and figure out how Social Security fits into it. So stay tuned.
Today's retirement challenges can be mastered. Knowledge is power, because you can confidently plan ahead and make educated financial decisions for a successful and comfortable retirement. We are Centennial Wealth Advisory, financial advisors specializing in retirement planning, serving all of Northern Michigan with offices in Traverse City, Cadillac, Petoskey, and Gaylord. And we invite you to an informative and exciting live event with a complimentary gourmet dinner. You'll learn highlights of the new Tax Reform Act, the difference between the fiduciary and suitability standard of care, how an IRA gets taxed to a surviving spouse, what a bull market is and how long it can last, and much more. Call 888-608-5825 to register and choose the date and location that works best for you. Wednesday, September 18th, or Thursday, September 26th, at Boone's Long Lake Inn in Traverse City. The live event starts at 6 p.m. and is free to attend with a complimentary gourmet dinner to follow, but seating is limited and fills quickly. Call 888-608-5825 to reserve your seats today. There is no cost and no obligation. Don't miss this important live event. Educated financial decisions. Call 888-608-5825 today.
Hi, welcome back. Now listen, in this segment, I want to talk about Roth IRAs and when you might want to do what they call a Roth conversion. Now, when Roth IRAs first came out, I know a lot of folks ran to the accountant, they ran to the advisor, and they said, hey, should I do this or not? And that advisor, that accountant maybe rendered an opinion, and then you've never looked at it again. Folks, this is something that has to be looked at every single year. There's people that are, let's say, in the lower tax bracket. Okay, they've got their IRA money. Now remember, our IRA money's never been taxed. So every dollar we take out is going to be taxed. So knowing that, and knowing that you have a partner in that account, Uncle Sam, possibly state of Michigan, that when you take that money out, they want their share, trying to minimize that the best way we can is huge. So we have the ability to do that by doing what we call a Roth conversion. That means take my IRA money, pay the tax on it, and then convert it over and put it into a Roth IRA. Now, what are the benefits of a Roth IRA? Well, now that you've paid the tax on that money, that money now continues to grow tax deferred, just like it did in the IRA. But the beauty is then when you go to pull it out, it's not taxable at all. So the idea of being able to convert IRA money to Roth IRA money is big in tax planning. So if I'm in that low bracket, 15% bracket, and that's what Uncle Sam's going to get every time I take a dollar out, then if I have any room in that bracket at all, why would I not be wanting to accelerate money out of the IRA and getting it over into the Roth IRA as fast as possible? I'm not giving Uncle Sam any more than he would have gotten before, but the earlier I get it into a Roth IRA, the quicker that Roth is going to grow tax deferred and be a bigger benefit for me down the road. Now, right now we've been given a huge opportunity with the Tax Reform Act because the tax rates are about 3% lower than they used to be. So right now, if you were in the 15% bracket, you're now in the 12% bracket. If you were in the 25% bracket, you're now in the 22% bracket. So we've got over the next 6-7 years this huge opportunity to be able to accelerate or use up that bracket. So we're buying out Uncle Sam at 12 cents on the dollar versus 15 cents on the dollar, or 22 cents on the dollar versus 25 cents on the dollar. So taking advantage of this is huge. Now, a lot of people go, Larry, aren't there contribution limits to putting into a Roth IRA? Yes, there's contribution limits, but not when you're doing a conversion. You can pay tax on your entire IRA. It could be $1 million if you're that fortunate enough to have that. And you can convert it over to a Roth IRA. And there's actually no income limitations as well. So if you think you're a candidate for that, then I encourage you. Give us a call. We'll see if you're a candidate. We'd be glad to help you with that. Thanks.
You know, guys, what a couple great bits of information there. Larry just talked about tax planning with Roth IRAs and then Social Security planning with an income plan. You know, for those of you out there retiring or retiring soon, two huge pieces that often go overlooked. Time and time again, we see people coming in our office that don't have an income plan, and those two pieces that Larry just talked about are huge in those situations. Now, John, I know you met with some folks recently where you had an experience with this, and often do, right?
Yeah, and Art, they were taking a look at both of those areas, and really they were trying to focus on just bringing it all together. And so they thought, okay, Social Security, I've been working hard all these years. I might as well draw it at 62 years old. But meanwhile, then they had this Roth IRA that they'd built up, and they thought, well, why not put the two together and draw income from both of them? And it may have made some sense as far as getting that income from a tax-free perspective, but it really created some potential problems long-term for them and looking at how they're going to draw over the rest of their lifetime. And so that can create some major issues, Jack.
Yeah, you know, in my teaching career, I had an opportunity to sub in a band classroom, and I walked in and they're warming up, and it sounds terrible. It's all over the place. And I went to the front, and as soon as I got there and they saw that, they all started playing together, and all those instruments made a beautiful, beautiful noise. And I see that a lot in our planning aspect of it. It's not just one component of your plan that you have to look at. You have to figure out how all of these pieces are going to work together. And so stay tuned if you'd like to hear more about our holistic approach to financial advising, and see if you'd like to come and meet and see where we could potentially help.
NMC Extended Education is introducing an educational class titled Retirement Secrets, Your Best is Yet to Come. Our very own Larry Flynn will be the presenter. If you are nearing retirement or already retired, then this class is for you. Many things can threaten your ability to outlive your assets and retire well. The big three being healthcare, inflation, and taxes. Learn to navigate the critical issues that a retiree must deal with. You'll learn how to plan for a predictable and sustainable income, minimize taxes on your IRAs, maximize your Social Security benefits, and avoid estate planning mistakes. We'll also discuss long-term care concerns and what investments are appropriate in different situations. The cost is only $69. Materials will be provided and a spouse or guest may attend for free. The class will be held on 2 Wednesday evenings at 6 p.m. for 3 hours, September 25th and October 2nd at the NMC Great Lakes campus. Reserve your seats today by calling NMC at 231-995-1700. Again, that number is 231-995-1700. The class is called Retirement Secrets.
Hi, welcome back. Listen, in this segment, I want to talk about risk. You know, how much risk are you taking on? You know, a lot of people have their portfolio, they might have their mutual funds, but behind those mutual funds are a lot of securities. And a lot of folks want to know, Larry, as I'm positioned today, how did this portfolio do in 2008 when the market dropped a full 57%? How did this portfolio do? How did it do back in 2000 through 2002 when we went through that tech bubble and we went through that bear market? Knowing the answer to that question is very, very important. We actually have the tools to be able to show people what that is. We can take your existing portfolio as it is today, run it through an analysis and show you exactly how it did in 2008, how it did in 2000 through 2002, so you know how much actual risk you're taking. You know, what was that drawdown? If I'm somebody that only wants to take 5-10% risk, you know, I don't want to see it lose anything more than that, and the way I'm positioned today shows that I could lose 50%, is that a concern to me? It might very well be. And so we actually have the tools to be able to show you that. We can look at the bonds you're holding. Maybe you're just in fixed income and you have bonds and you want to know what's the credit qualityness of those bonds. One of the biggest concerns we have today is you know, there's been a lot of corporate debt. And, you know, and you're taking on a lot more risk if you're in what they call that high yield bond area. Well, how much of your portfolio is made up of that? Would that be a question you'd want to have answered? What about the yield of a portfolio? Now, the yield of a portfolio is actual interest and dividends being earned from the underlying securities. Usually, typically, the greater the yield, the lesser volatility you're going to have. So, you know, knowing what that is very important. If it's only got 1% yield, meaning that's all it's getting in income, where's the other growth going to have to happen? It's going to have to come from the speculative piece. So getting a risk analysis done, and we can do that for you, give us a call, is very important. Hi, welcome back. Now listen, in this segment I want to talk to you about the value of having what we call holistic planning, okay? Now, just about every advisor out there is doing what they call investment management, okay? They're managing a portfolio in some way, shape, form, or another. But in holistic planning, you're going to be dealing with a lot more than that, okay? Now, when you're working, you're in what's called the growth and accumulation phase of your life. You've got plenty of time till you're looking to possibly retire, okay? But when you get near retirement or in retirement, you're in what's called the preservation of wealth and income phase of your life, okay? Your needs are much different than the person who maybe is just getting started working, okay? Now, what are some of those needs? Well, income planning is going to be very important, you know? I've grown this retirement savings. Now I got to take income from it when I get into retirement. What's that going to look like, right? What about estate planning? Yeah, that's going to be very important as well. Long-term care, healthcare planning is going to kind of come into the mix, right? Tax planning, very important as well. The point is that there's many questions that have to be answered when we get into this kind of planning. For example, I've got my retirement savings. Okay, one of the first questions I'm going to ask is, what account do I pull from? You know, does it make sense to pull my income out of certain accounts versus others? Maybe. What are the tax ramifications if I pull it out of the various different accounts? I'm going to want to know the answer to that because I want to keep my taxes as low as possible. I want to be very wise in how I do that. From an estate planning standpoint, you know, what are going to be the beneficiary designations that I place on these various investment accounts? For example, if you have a trust, you're going to maybe, in a lot of cases, list the trust as the beneficiary. But maybe for an IRA, that may or may not be the best thing to do. You're going to want to know the answer to that. What if I'm somebody who's maybe stopped working, I'm not yet age 65 yet, you know, the age at which I can take Medicare, and I maybe want to get some of those subsidies to help pay for that health care that's out there. Well, now I'm going to want to control my income accordingly. So can you see how all of these have to work together? Now, in some cases, you know, I'm going to want to look at the pros and cons of all those various decisions because some of them can work against each other. Hopefully you can see the value here in that, you know, investment management is a very important thing and the kind of risk I'm taking on in that, but all that other planning has to play a role in it. Again, they have to work together. At Centennial Wealth, this is what we do. We do all that kind of planning. So if any of that is something that you think you need or want to hear more about, then I encourage you, give us a call.
Again, a lot of great information from Larry there, guys, and I continue to think about with that as we're talking to folks just like you when it comes to risk, and we're running through this discussion on how much risk can you take when it comes to retirement. And so often when we run the analysis, we're talking through it initially, we want to know, hey, where's your attitude towards risk? If the markets take a drop, where is that, we call it your uncle point, where you start to feel uncomfortable? And a lot of times, Jack, we hear probably 90% of the time, probably about negative 10%. That's where people start to feel uncomfortable. But we run that analysis, and what do we normally find?
Well, you get to see after we look at all the different parts of your portfolio where the risk is at and how much risk you're actually taking on. We get to see the volatility. We get to see the standard deviation that will tell us what the probability of those particular losses are going to be. And you know, the part that I think adds the most value to what we do in this comprehensive approach is answering the need question. We get to hear you out, and then we get to say, how much risk do you need? And we're going to use our holistic approach to figure out exactly what that need is, and then just let them know and analyze if that's what they currently have.
Mm-hmm.
You know, guys, that's great information. You know, we've been in this good run here for a long time, and people get lulled to sleep, you know, on the risk. You know, if there's somebody out there that's 10 years away from retirement or in retirement, do you know what your risk is at? Do you know for sure? Have you seen a stress test to know exactly what that looks like? Wouldn't you like to know that? So we challenge you, if you don't know that, give us a call. We'd love to sit down. We have 4 locations across northern Michigan, Traverse City, Gaylord, Cadillac, and Petoskey, and we can meet you right there, talk through the risks, make sure that matches up with what you say you want and what you want to have in retirement. Coming up after the break, Larry's going to get into income planning, so stay with us. This is going to be very important for those of you looking to make your retirement portfolio produce a paycheck.
my name is Jack Clunner, and I'm a financial advisor with Centennial Wealth Advisory. My wife and I moved up here 13 years ago, and we have really enjoyed raising our 4 children in the beautiful northern Michigan country that we have. If you've been watching the show for a while, you know what we specialize in. If you are at retirement or near retirement, give us a call. Call the number on your screen. We can help go through all the different aspects of planning that are involved in retiring well. So I look forward to hearing from you.
Hi, welcome back. Listen, in this segment, I want to talk about income planning. Okay, one of the biggest questions people have when they're taking income, if they're at retirement, is this money going to last? Very, very important. And we want to set a plan ahead of time so we can plot that out based on what your income needs are to make sure that you're not going to run out of money before you die. Very, very important. Now, as a general rule, when you're developing an income plan like that, you want to be dealing with low volatile accounts. You know, we've talked about this before. If you're taking 4 or 5% for income, that's what you need, and we can grow that account by, 5, 6%, well, then that's going to work all day long because I'm just pulling the cream off the top, right? But if I'm that person that needs 4 or 5% income and the market drops to half its value, now that 4% becomes 8, 9, 10%. How am I going to grow it back? I now forever got to get better than 10% rate of return to even start to grow that portfolio back from where it fell. So very, very important if you're doing income planning, we better be dealing with low volatile accounts. The other thing we want to do in income planning is make sure that we grow as much as we can possibly do, grow those guaranteed accounts. You know, if I'm somebody that has very little or no pension at all, and I've got Social Security, then growing that Social Security benefit is going to be a huge part of this. You know, as you're aware, you can take it at age 62, you can take it early, but if I can wait, if possible, if I can wait as long as possible to get to maybe age 70, I can just about double that benefit. That's a huge thing if that's my only guaranteed source of income coming in. So in income planning, you want to deal with low volatile accounts from your savings, but you want to grow those guaranteed accounts as well. It's going to help us in the income planning. Now, I want you to be careful. I've had a lot of people out there, they'll go to an advisor, they'll get an income plan, okay? A lot of times it'll be this thick, and they'll go, hey, based on this plan, the advisor told me that I can live to 110 and my money will never run out. I'm all good. He said I'm fine. We have to understand in those plans, there was a growth rate assumption put in there, meaning they had to assume some rate of return that they figured that portfolio was going to grow by as you were taking income. Now, not to make this oversimplistic, but think of this. If they put a growth rate assumption in there of like 5, 6%, and they said you could live to 110 and never run out, you understand that has to make 5, 6% every single year. That's the assumption they put into that plan. Is that the way markets work? Absolutely not. I encourage you, if you're somebody that's not done that income planning yet, or you want answers to some of those questions we talked about, I encourage you, give us a call. This is what we do for our clients, especially those that are near or in retirement. So give us a call. Thank you.
Today's retirement challenges can be mastered. Knowledge is power because you can confidently plan ahead and make educated financial decisions for a successful and comfortable retirement. We are Centennial Wealth Advisory, financial advisors, specializing in retirement planning, serving all of northern Michigan with offices in Traverse City, Cadillac, Petoskey, and Gaylord. And we invite you to an informative and exciting live event with a complimentary gourmet dinner. You'll learn highlights of the new Tax Reform Act, the difference between the fiduciary and suitability standard of care, how an IRA gets taxed to a surviving spouse, what a bull market is and how long it can last, and much more. Call 888-608-5825 to register and choose the date and location that works best for you. Wednesday, September 18th, or Thursday, September 26th at Boone's Long Lake Inn in Traverse City. The live event starts at 6 p.m. and is free to attend with a complimentary gourmet dinner to follow, but seating is limited and fills quickly. Call 888-608-5825 to reserve your seats today. There is no cost and no obligation. Don't miss this important live event. educated financial decisions. Call 888-608-5825 today.
What a really, really powerful segment, guys. Income planning. Can't stress it enough. A huge importance in retirement. And why is it so important to retirees? It's your lifestyle. It's going to allow you to do the things you want to do in retirement. Without income, guess what? Can't do much, right, guys?
Yeah, here's my fear, guys, is I just sat down with a client and ultimately they were looking at their 401k statement, and on that 401k statement it had an assumed rate of return, happened to be 8% that they were using. Now, year-to-date numbers, it showed that they were up 12%, so they thought, oh, okay, that should be reasonable. But what I was thinking of is, you know, that old rule of thumb, the 4 to 5% rule. Take whatever you have as a dollar amount, use 4 to 5% a year as an income stream, and hey, that should last for your lifetime if structured properly. But meanwhile, they were ultimately going into retirement soon and really depending on this 8% income stream, which I looked at, and it made me really nervous. Now, I know you had an interesting story, Jack, of having a desire to plan ahead, but you didn't get that opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, as I've been introduced to this world, one of the parts I love the most is I get to see potential problems coming from a long ways away. Recently, my wife and I were out in Oregon, whitewater rafting, and we were in the raft and we're going down and we made it through some whitewater, and the guide said, well, we got a 14-foot waterfall coming up, and as we're going down, he's giving us instructions on what to do. And I was very, very closely listening because but it was intense because the waterfall kept coming closer and closer together. And the last advice that I heard him say is, you know, as we go over, if you get stuck under the water, just ball up and go like this. And I thought, that's my advice, that's what I have to do. And I had to get that in real time. And so when I compare that to what we do, it's just a really different approach. You know, we want to be as far ahead of any potential problems as we can. And a lot of that just is, we get ahead of that because of the planning that we do.
You know, it's a really interesting story, Jack, with the waterfall. I'm happy it wasn't me in that position. Better you than me, right? But oftentimes we hear that, you know, folks where, you know, they go to their advisors, they ask for, hey, what should I do in this? Or this is on my account, this has happened. And there tends to be stay the course, you know, don't make adjustments. But there isn't that plan to come back to really know what to expect, what those hurdles may be going in retirement and what you need to plan for. What if there's a waterfall in your retirement? What if maybe that's health? Maybe that's the grandkids need money, you know, something like that. Having those plans in place, not only from an income perspective, investment, taxes, how does that affect your estate, right, guys? Yeah. Those are all big things to have. So, you know, when we're looking at this and looking at all these different things with that holistic approach there, just another reason why we'd love to sit down, talk you through your retirement plan, and see if we can offer your help. We look forward to seeing you back here with Retiring Well next week.